Friends, we welcome you to this time of celebration when we give gratitude for life and love and family and community, for the opportunity to share story and to sing. As we gather, we give thanks for the life of Keith, your beautiful husband and father and grandpa. We're grateful that you've been able to come on this beautiful, sunny Saturday afternoon to give thanks and to celebrate for Keith's life. We gather here on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples, the Huron and the Wendat, who give gratitude for creation and for life and for death and for life beyond death. So as we gather today to honor and celebrate, let's kick it off the way that Keith would want it, with a comedy of tenors. And what a show it will be. The family has asked that today is a time to celebrate, to remember and to share story and to sing. And to begin our time of celebration, we're inviting the grandchildren and their parents to come forward to light candles in honor and memory of their grandpa.
For Andrew.
For Colin.
And Yvonne and Duncan are lighting this candle, which we light every week here at Edith Rankin as our worship candle. And the stand was made by Keith about 10 years ago, commissioned from Edith Rankin and turned out of a single piece of wood, and then the crosses carved in it to match the cross at the front of our sanctuary. So we light it in his honor and his memory. In the Christian calendar, today is Holy Saturday, that space nestled in between Good Friday and Easter morning. But today is also Keith and Yvonne's 65th wedding anniversary, the day when love was honored and celebrated. And 65 years ago, at their wedding ceremony, of course they sang, and they sang Love Divine, All Loves Excelling. And so we're going to invite you to stand and sing it out boldly so that we might honor and celebrate the love that Keith and Yvonne shared together. Keith has been a longtime member of the Edith Rankin Chancel Choir. And when the choir found out that their beloved tenor was sick, they wanted to make a quilt for him, to wrap him up in their love and their blessing. And so Joyce and crew made this beautiful quilt for Keith, and Keith didn't get to see it. And so the choir has asked me to bless it and to give it to you today, Yvonne, so that you might be wrapped in their love and their blessings, knowing that forever you will feel the warmth of this place, of this church and these choir members who love you and will forever hold you in prayer and blessing. May the music that's created here forever bless you. You are loved. All these choir love you too. And so with that, let's hear, under the direction of our music director, Kim Barney, the Edith Frankel. Oh, a pregnant pause for tissue. That was not very kind, was it? Our joyful and beautiful Edith Rankin Chancel Choir with a blessing for Keith. Kim, you've got a new voice in the choir today because Yvonne knew every word and could sing right along. To begin off our storytelling, we're inviting Lorna and Duncan to come and share a story of their dad.
It's a hard act to follow. I'm a man of few words. I just have a little poetry here. Goodbye, Dad, I had to say a month ago on a cool winter day. I'll remember the good times and try not to be sad, but saying goodbye still hurts so bad. I miss you more than I can express. My love for you will never grow less. I know you are in heaven above, looking down on us with all your love. Only to whisper in our ear, remember that I'll never stop loving you, dear. I'll always remember the good times we had, remember the man, my wonderful dad. One day we'll be together again and talk about the places we've been. Until that time, I'll always treasure having you for a dad was such a great pleasure.
I don't know if I need my glasses or not. My dad was so generous with his expertise, creativity, and beautiful tenor voice, but most of all, his time. Whenever he had a project to work on, it took over his whole being. Dad's focus was on strategically planning every detail necessary to produce the perfect piece before any action could be carried out. Some examples of his work are a giant plexiglass musical display featured at Joe's Mill at the Tet Center, the memorial candle holder that you have here at the church, and numerous musical files that he shared with fellow choir members so that they could learn their individual parts. I also have a few personal examples that I'd like to share. But first, I'd like to note that in our display is the Notley coat of arms with the motto, Noli Mentiri, which means do not lie. One of my first memories as a little girl was sitting in Dad's workshop, watching as he worked on making a baby's cradle. He explained to me how he was shaping, sanding, and finishing it, and how he would glue all the wooden pieces together to make it strong. I think this experience planted the seed for my interest in construction and learning how to DIY, do it yourself. Anyway, when I asked who he was making this cradle for, he told me that it was to be a gift for friends of theirs who were expecting a baby. That year, on Christmas morning, imagine my excitement as I discovered a baby doll in that beautifully painted pink cradle under the tree. Wait a minute, Dad lied to me. It's okay, I forgive him. As you could see from the opening announcement, Dad especially loved the opera. He was instrumental in the development of my own appreciation for the genre. When I directed The Farce, a comedy of tenors, I was excited to share Dad with our Domino Theatre audiences, so I asked him to create the pre-show announcement. Dad and I settled on a familiar opera tune to which he came up with the humorous lyrics. Every night, Dad would arrive at the theater, ready for his few minutes of fame. He was delighted with the laughter and applause he received, so much so that he eventually increased his stage time by singing a verse in Italian before his humorous cell phone announcement. Imagine being the actors who had to follow that performance each night. Way to ham it up, Dad. Not only did he share his voice and wit, but also his expertise and knowledge of language. I recall the countless hours he spent helping me to edit any essay I'd written for school. I knew that this process wouldn't take just a few minutes, but in fact, a few hours, as Dad imparted his knowledge of the written word. I would sit by his side to help him decipher all my arrows and asterisks, as I would only ever have one rough draft that I edited multiple times before taking it to him to learn how to perfect the piece. Dad had a lot of practice in writing. A few days after he met the love of his life, my mom, Yvonne, they were separated for several months as Dad was in the Army. Each day they wrote letters to each other. In fact, there is a case full of letters with several packets of them bound together by the month. In that case, I also discovered a beautiful handwritten poem entitled Celestial Observations, written to my mom exactly 66 years ago today, 1 year before they were married. You can read the poem, which is framed and in our display. Happy 65th anniversary, Mom and Dad. Something else I came across a few weeks ago, as I was looking at some of the things Dad collected, was a pink envelope with Happy Father's Day, Dad, written in my juvenile handwriting. Inside, 2 copies of a poem I wrote. Yes, I had 2 drafts. The first draft I gave him for Father's Day when I was 16 years old. The second draft I gave him 19 years later for his 65th birthday. And now, I have revised, only slightly, one of the last lines of my poem, still working to perfect something I wrote more than 40 years ago. I am my father's daughter, and I'm here to share the final draft of my poem with you. It's called Dad. A father is the kind of man his daughter needs around, and you, dear Dad, are certainly the best one to be found. You're always there to give me a warm and loving hand. In times of stress and sadness, you try to understand. I know you're here to help me when problems do arise. You listen and advise me and even dry my eyes. Like a craftsman in his workshop, you've shaped this daughter's world. And even though you've left it now, I'm still your little girl. I miss you, Dad. Thank you.
Thank you to Duncan and Lorna. Your dad would be proud. As you can imagine, we loved having Keith's voice here in the tenor section of the church choir, and throughout his time here in several different times of celebration and sharing his gift of music and joy. And so we're going to receive this video of a production of Keith here at Edith Rankin, sharing with us a gift from Phantom of the Opera. there are so many sides of Keith, and so next we want to invite Joe McInerney to come up to share memories of his friend.
This is where I have to be careful what I say. Come here, Linda. I've been asked to say a few words as a friend, but apparently I've been a bad influence on Keith, so I have to keep it clean. So, I knew Keith, thanks. What, that's it?
I'm here to interrupt you,
Oh, go on.
but you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. I met Keith when I sang at Fort Henry about 12 years ago. I sat next to him and said that this wasn't the tune we were singing. He said, no, it's the harmony. Do you read music? I said, well, the sticks and the dots are not on the right places on the lines, so yes. He said, great, can you join our choir? I said, no. 3 times. But he's very persuasive. So eventually I said, okay, well, give me a call in September, hoping he'd forget. Well, September came, and so did the call. He said, if you pick me up, I'll show you where it is. So that started our conversations that we used to have to and from rehearsal. Sometimes serious, sometimes quite jovial, and, well, some unrepeatable. Often, after the practice, we would sing on the way home. We once sang Beloved from the Student Prince. I couldn't remember the second verse, so he sang it extra loud, and I have a small car. Yeah, exactly. Keith and Yvonne, Linda and Bruce, and Sue and I occasionally have dinners at each other's houses, and he would always entertain and tell stories about his time in Australia and recite lots of poetry. He always remembered every single piece. It's quite impressive. But it was always fun to listen to. But at the end, though, he was someone who would always lend a hand if needed, and more often than not, with a song. More importantly, he was someone I trusted. Most people here, I'm sure, have a few friends they trust, and it really makes them special. So I have one short story to tell. I had the TV on one afternoon, and it was showing a mining program. I'm not sure what, it might be PBS. And up popped a 56-inch picture of Keith, talking. And it said, Professor Keith Notley. So I was surprised, and I phoned him. I gave him a call, and I said, hey, I've just seen you on the Gogglebox. And it said, Professor. He said, well, yes. And I remember making the program. So I'm saying, wow, a real prof. Well, you do, don't you? Anyway, a couple of weeks later, we're in his garden getting fruit from the tree. So I said, how are we going to get the ones further up the tree? Ah, he said, I've made a gadget. And it was a long pole with a cup on the end, and a little thing that twirled around. He said, put it over the fruit, twist it, and it falls into the cup. Well, I'm standing under the tree. You know it's coming, don't you? Yeah. And he tried it, and the cup fell off with the fruit inside. Well, you can imagine what happened, and I stated my displeasure. I said, what kind of professor are you? Obviously a nutty one. He said with a straight face, I'm a professor of mining, not science. He said, and this needs an adjustment. Actually, it's an enhancement. And we need another cup. So off we went to the house to adjust. Anyway, I'm going to say this. There's a saying that says, don't go gently into the night, rage with all your might against the dying of the light, or something like that. Well, as Shakespeare would say, here's the rub. The light does go out, and we can't replace the bulb. We are left with memories, and I'm sure, as you all have them as well. Fortunately, in Keith's case, they're all good ones. And I was lucky enough to know him as a friend, and I'll miss his positive take on life.
Wonderful.
That's it, that's all I've got to say. And it was clean. Do you want me to stand next to you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stand next to you. Oh, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Linda Stolness. I'm not on the program, but I was told to interrupt this guy. Now, probably I could have written his speech and he could have written mine because we were together so often. We are privileged and grateful to speak at this celebration. I first met Keith when he attended one of our Kingston Senior Choristers' rehearsal. I did not know who he was. He just came in quietly and sat at the back and listened. I came to realize later that he was there checking us out to see if we met his interest in joining a very large and senior group. He joined us the next week as a member and continued to sing with us for 14 years, both as a member of the tenor section and very often as a soloist separately and alongside the choir. I found him to be a wonderful singer, as you can tell today, and you know him well. Being a tenor is a most welcome member. If you know about choirs, tenors are a very rare breed. And the tenors certainly welcomed his strength in their section. While being a member, Keith spent hundreds of hours developing recorded voice parts for every song and for every choral section in the choir. This was an amazing feat and so welcomed by us all. On a personal level, we became good friends and participated in copious bottles of wine while learning about great food and that we didn't know about. Imagine, coming from the British. I can't not now think about dessert without calling it a pudding. With Yvonne and Keith, we traveled together and shared accommodations in Florida, where little Lexi had her first swim in the pool. Needless to say, Lexi was not impressed. Right, Yvonne? Yvonne and Keith attended our son's wedding in Jamaica, and what a wonderful time that we had. Together with our Brit family, the McInerney's, we met several times to drink our favorite sparkling wine.
Copious amounts.
And test out wonderful hors d'oeuvres. Lots of laughs and fun. I have always been so impressed by Keith's intelligence. On every topic, he knew everything about everything. His artistic ability in his wood turning, his knowledge of computer, and his kindness and generosity to assist anyone who asked for his help. We hope that this family, the Notley family, will find some solace in their grief in knowing how much we and others loved him and will dearly miss him. Thank you, Keith.
Bless you both. Daryl's been giving the dubious and joyous honor of being able to eulogize his father. What a gift and an honor. So, Daryl, we welcome you.
Hi there, I'm Daryl. I'm a lot different from the rest of my family. I need glasses. I'm first going to read you an email that my dad's brother sent from England. It says, "My brother, although Keith was 13 years my senior, the younger sibling is usually a pain, but it was never really the case. I was born at home during the summer holidays. Keith was sent out to paint the lawnmower. He unfortunately was too liberal with the paint, which didn't go down well with Dad. As a role model to follow, Keith, a very modest man who was extremely academic and unusually a person good with his hands, where he excelled at woodworking. He was also a very fine scout, the best the troop had ever known. The scouting skills came easily to Keith as he loved the countryside, especially in the woods, building camps, climbing trees, making campfires, always good fun. Then there was the rope work, tying of fancy knots, etc. All good scouting skills of the time. I also loved the scouting life and tried to emulate his example, managing eventually to earn the Queen's Scout Award like Keith himself earned years earlier. I was very proud to almost live up to his standard. Not being anywhere near the academic standard of Keith, for anyone, a very hard act to follow. On learning that I had failed to pass the entrance exam for a grammar school education, he cried. It was so touching from a man in his early 20s. This was the love he gave me. It brings tears to my eyes thinking about it. The saddest day of my young life was when he and Yvonne departed Cornwall for Canada. As an 11-year-old, I thought I would never see them again. Thankfully, especially over the past 30 years or so, we have been able to meet and have enjoyed many holidays together, fond memories. My brother, a true role model to follow, something I will always treasure. I miss him with all my heart. John." I gotta spread my pages out. Thank you all for coming to celebrate the life which was my dad's. I'm Daryl, his oldest child. My mom and dad's 65th wedding anniversary would have been today, and we would have been having a very much different celebration than the one we were having now. I'm so sorry, Mom, that this couldn't be so. But Dad will always be in our hearts, and we will always be grateful for the time that we had with him. I'm sure are more prevalent today. In that regard, I would like you all to think of a memory or two of my dad and just pause on them for a moment in silence. My dad had many amazing attributes. He loved his family, my mom, us kids, and his grandchildren. He had many friends and colleagues that he admired greatly. How many people have heard my dad sing? Well, you all have, haven't you? Did you know that he never had any professional training? He taught himself how to sing, and he did as he did with a lot of his talents. My dad wasn't spiritual and would only attend a church so he could sing in the choir. He was in 5 choirs at one time, any opportunity to sing. And I happened to join him in his passion for singing and joined him with the Kingston Capital Men's Chorus. And I'm missing not being beside him at rehearsals. My dad did some amazing wood turning and was commissioned to do several pieces. I helped him take one, the one Lorna described, the musical note display, to Joe's Mill. And there are, of course, some examples here today. Now, I would like to share with you a couple of memories that will showcase a different side of his personality. I better go up to them. So, as a family, when we were kids, we would go out for long drives, and of course, my dad would be singing constantly. And of course, it grated on us children. When's he gonna shut up? Until somebody said, let's play a game. So, we'd play a game. How about 20 questions? Okay, 20 questions. And my dad would say, I've got one. And we'd say, okay, well, is it animal, vegetable, or mineral? These were the standard things at the beginning. And he would say, they're all three. All three. Oh no, not this again. So we'd start off, usually our first question was, is it bigger than a bread box? And he would say, no. And we'd say, is it bigger than a mouse? He would say, yes. And we would continue on and on, exhaust our 20 questions, of course, till we came to the end. And we'd be like, okay, Dad, what is it? And he would say, proudly, it was a bread box. Okay, well, how is an animal and a vegetable in that? I said, well, there's a loaf of bread in there. And cows make milk. Eggs come from chickens. There's your animal. Oh, come on. What about the vegetable? Well, it's a cheese and onion loaf. So there you go. My dad was a smartass. One day, I happened to go down to my friend's place that lived down the street, Jimmy. And as I got there, I noticed his dad and there was another man, and they were casting these fishing rods up into this tree. And this tree was on their property, and it was a very, very high tree. Of course, me being small, of course, everything was big. Even he was bigger than me. So I said to my friend, I said, what the bleep and bleep are they doing? And I learned that in kindergarten. And we'd say, well, look, there's a crow up in the tree and it's caught. And they're trying to, get it with the fishing hooks. They didn't use hooks. They were using weights, to try and hook it and get it loose. And I said, oh, my dad's got a fishing rod. So off I ran home. I told my dad, I said, there's a bird caught in a tree. You got to come and try and get out. There's guys down there with fishing rods trying to get out. I said, bird in a tree? Come on, let's go down. So off we go down. So we got down, he looked up, and then he went straight for the tree, and he climbed the tree. He climbed the tree to the very top, because that's where the crow was, to the very top of that tree. And he got the crow untangled from whatever branch he was in. He tucked it inside of his shirt, and he came back down the tree. The tree was a pine tree. And he was in his short sleeve shirts and bare hands and shorts. So, pretty amazing. I thought, oh, wow, is he ever fearless? So, what we've learned here today, he was a fearless smartass. One other time, because of his scouting, he always carried around a pocket knife, he called it, a pocket knife. A pocket knife, which was this, a Swiss Army knife. And anytime we needed something, something to be screwed, or something needed to be sawed, or anything, he'd say, oh, I have a tool for that. One day I kind of had something caught in my teeth. I said, oh, I wish I had a toothpick. My dad says, I got one of those. Here you go, right? No, that's not it. It's this one. Here you go, right here. I took it from him. Do you use this a lot? Oh, yeah, I use it all the time. Ew, gross. Anyway, we moved from Sudbury to Kingston in the September of 1972. My dad went to Queen's University, earned his master's degree, and then his doctorate in mining engineering. He wrote his thesis on the Spring Hill mining disaster. My dad had accomplished a lot during his life. I cherish all the time I had with him. The takeaway I have is that we have a common passion for music. I appreciate the time that we got to sing together, and it is something that I'm going to miss dearly. Goodbye, Dad. I will carry on without you, but memories will stay with me for the rest of my life. I love you. One other thing. My dad was a great laugher, and he would just burst out laughing, and what he really liked were jokes, and I could tell some really good jokes. So, Dad, I have a joke for you. So, St. Peter's up at the pearly gates, and he's, melancholy because, people are coming through and they're explaining, how they died, and he's, let them through, and he thinks, you know what, I think the next ones I'm gonna see if they can tell me a funny story about how they died. So, 3 guys pop up. First guy comes up. St. Peter says, so, tell me a funny story of how you died. Guy says, I live on the 25th floor of this apartment building, and I found out that my wife was cheating on me. So I left home from work early one day, and I went home. And I looked all around the apartment. I couldn't find him. I knew he was there. I couldn't find him, and I was passing by the balcony, and I happened to look, and there were some fingertips on the balcony. So I went inside, and I grabbed the hammer, and I went, and I pounded on those fingertips, and the guy fell. And he fell, but he landed in some bushes. So he lived. I think, I've got to get him. So I went in the house, I grabbed the refrigerator, something heavy. I grabbed the refrigerator, I hauled it out to the balcony. I lifted it up, and I let it go. And then I had a heart attack because I strained myself too hard, and I died. And that's how I ended up here. St. Peter's laughing, he says, yeah, go ahead. Second guy comes up. St. Peter says, tell me a funny story of how you died. Second guy says, I live on the 26th floor of this apartment building. And I was out on my balcony, and I was, doing those weights, with the rubber band tension things, and all of a sudden it let go, and I fell over backwards over my balcony, but I was lucky enough to catch on to the balcony below. The next thing I know, there's this guy, he's hammering on my fingertips, and I fell. I fell all down, but I fell in these bushes, and I was alive. I was thinking, oh, great. And I looked up, and this refrigerator is coming at me, and then I ended up here. St. Peter's laughing. He says, yeah, you go ahead. You're good. Third guy comes in. St. Peter says, tell me a funny story of how you died. Third guy says, so I was buck naked in this refrigerator. Yeah, something like that, he would laugh. Thank you all for coming to celebrate my dad's life. So I would now like to introduce you to Mr. Ian Juby, who's the musical director of our choir, Mr. Scott Davey, who is our accompanist, and the rest of the Capital Men's Chorus. We'll be singing 3 selections, the first one being the Ballad of Spring Hill, because that's what he wrote his thesis on. The second one comes from Scott. Scott asked my dad a while ago, what's your favorite piece of music that we sing? And he said, away from the roll of the sea. I agreed with him. I said, yeah, that's a really good one. So the third selection is, what would I do without my music? Because I do not know what my dad would be without his music. Come up, please.
Keith, in the tenor section, where you all it's a pleasure for us to be able to come and share our music with Keith shared with us for so many years. We're really going to miss him, and especially that smile in the front row. Wait, there he is right now.
Thanks, Taxi.
What would I do without my music?
Thank you, Daryl, for the storytelling, and thank you to the men for the beautiful gift of sharing in your song. I'm going to ask you to please rise as you're able or comfortable so that we might commend our friend Keith. We are granted life and called to live it well. And then life and light changes. And when our light goes out, we are called to remember, to celebrate, to give thanks. And when our beloved's light goes out, we are called to hold the song, to carry the love, and to trust that whatever is next for each of us, that we will continue to sing in graciousness and in peace. Keith, may God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May God look upon you with kindness and give you peace. And for that, all God's people can say, Amen. The family would like to invite all of you to continue in the storytelling and the celebrating as we share in food and story together.
Last night I lay sleeping, there came a dream so fair. I stood in old Jerusalem, beside the temple there. I heard the children singing, and ever as they sang, methought the voice of angels from heaven answering. Methought the voice of angels from heaven answering. Jerusalem, lift up your gates and sing. Hosanna in the highest. Hosanna to your King. And then methought my dream was changed, the streets no longer rang. Hushed were the glad hosannas, the little children sang. The sun grew dark with mystery, the morn was cold and chill, as the shadow of a cross arose upon a lonely hill, as the shadow of a cross And once again the scene was changed, new earth there seemed to be. I saw the holy city beside the timeless sea. The light of God was on its streets, the gates were open wide, and would night enter, and no one was denied. No need of moon or stars by night, or sun to shine by day. It was the new Jerusalem that would not pass away. It was the new Jerusalem that would not pass away. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, sing for the night is o'er. Hosanna in the highest, Hosanna forevermore. Hosanna in the highest, Hosanna forevermore. Count your blessings one by one. When dawn appears and day has just begun, they will light your heart with happiness, make each hour bright and bring you gladness. Count your blessings one by one. When twilight falls and the toil of day is done, and in sweet dreams they'll come again to you, if you will count your blessings each day through. Count your blessings while you may, for we are here but little time to stay. All around our hearts sincere and true, lovely things abound, just waiting for you. Count your blessings while you